Welcome all to an obscure tour at the edge of the internet. I am your host, the Nameless Tour Guide, and you're probably wondering what you've just stumbled upon. Well, what this is a passion project of mine. What I plan to do here is to play through the original Dark Souls from the very beginning to the very end, focusing on the lore of the game. So that is to point out little tidbits of design here and little bits of text there, and slowly stitch that all together to tell the overarching story of the original Dark Souls. Now, this is a difficult and a contentious undertaking, I know, but I'm going to give it my best shot. So welcome to everybody. If you're a newcomer to the Dark Souls series, that's cool. There is no need to have played the Dark Souls series at all, though you should. They're great games. I'll be going over everything here from the basics through before we get on to the more complicated things. So hopefully you won't get left behind. That's my intention anyway. If you do get a little bit lost, just let me know in the comments and I'll try to clarify anything that I can. This episode may be a little bit confusing if you're new. That's because the character creation screen requires me to jump ahead a little bit. Don't worry about it. Once we get to these elements in game, I'll explain them all again there. Now, welcome to those who have played Dark Souls 1, 2, or 3, or any combination of those. You'll understand that there's Gwyn, and that there's an undead pilgrimage, and that there were Lord Souls, and the fading of the first flame, and all of the rest of that. But you've always felt that there's something strange happening in Lordran, that there's something else occurring, and you might be looking for extra information on it, what that strangeness is. Well, that's hopefully what this tour will highlight, is the storylines that are happening around the undead pilgrimage, and what's happening in Lordran in the original Dark Souls game. So also, if you also feel like you're a bit confused or a bit left behind, let me know in the comments below. I may not be, I will be doing loops through Lordran, and the ideas will build upon themselves. So I may not be able to fully talk about something immediately that you might go, oh, that doesn't seem to work correctly with something that I know happens later on in the game. Let me know those things so that when I come to them, I can address them directly. But just know that I will be getting to those kind of things. I'll be telling the story in a way that we'll be getting to later elements later, and I'll be then referring back to the original ones and why there may seem to be contradictions there, and why I think there aren't any contradictions there. So let me know so that I can address those when we get to them. Welcome to all those people who have played Dark Souls many times before and have figured it all out, and are just here to hear someone else's thoughts on the Dark Souls lore. Welcome. It would be great if you could use the comments below to just let me know if things that I've said you might think are contentious, or things that you have a different interpretation of, because I think that's one of the fun things about Dark Souls lore is people discussing the ideas as they're presented as well. So again, much like before, I might not be able to fully discuss everything in the early episodes, but as we progress along, it would be great to see what interpretations other people have as we go. Okay, great. So welcome to everybody, and let's get started on this tour by choosing our undead. So here we can increase the illumination and see the dragon, or make things darker and hide it. And we'll just start by entering in our name. Great, and we'll start by selecting our class. Now, the classes in Dark Souls are not that important. They don't limit skills or items that you can wear like other games. They're mainly just a configuration of the stats that you'll start the game with and what your starting equipment will be. So I'll just pick the knight, as I like the sword. And now moving on to the gifts. This is an item that you can start the game with. All of these items can be found in game. So we'll be talking about those in detail when we get to each of them. I will be picking the Master Key, as that allows me to get to a certain area early to introduce an important character to the tour, and also allows me to get access to some powerful items early on in the game. Now, the first screen that I want to focus on is the face screen. This screen allows us to choose the appearance of our character. Now, each of these names is a description of a place that is or is around or was in Lordran at some point. The ones that I just want to focus on here is, the first one is Classic Xena. Thoughtful, mature face, common in historical Xena. So just remember that one. We'll be coming to the story of Xena later. The next one is the Jubilant Katarina, known for festivity and drink. So just remember that one. And then I would just like to focus on the Astora Noble. Handsome face of the refined, common in Astora. So if we select that face, we jump across here, and we select female, we'll notice that the name has changed to Astora Royalty, and the description has changed as well. The beautiful face of the refined, common in Astora. This is an important story, a part of the Dark Souls story, and this interaction here is just a hint left by the developers towards the story of Astora. So just remember that, and just remember there was a beautiful face of the refined, common in Astora. Another one that can be found in the hair, which is a fun one, is the braid, the long braided hair as the old nobility. So just remember this one. This will come up in the middle of the tour, and this is a fun one there. This is the braided hair of the old nobility and was very fashionable at the time. So now I would like to pause upon the more complicated screen of the colors. Now, for those that are new, don't worry too much about what I'm about to talk about, except for the very last one. Just perk up when we get there. The colors just require me to jump ahead to things that you won't be aware of yet, but we'll get to it all in game, and we'll discuss it there as well. So, if we look at the first four colors, we see that the description down the bottom there is basic color. But the moment we go to dark blue, it changes to common in Karim. So what this is a hint towards is the fact that these last 6 items are all code to story within the game, and storylines that are occurring in Lordran. I'll start with the last one, as it's the easiest. The burning red hair and eyes are very rare color. So what this is a hint towards is the fading of the flame and the coming dark. So that's a fairly simple one, just to start with, just to show that there is sense to this code. The next one I'd like to stop on is gold. Gold hair and eyes, beloved by certain members of nobility. For those that have played the game before or know about Dark Souls lore, will probably guess that this is a hint towards the firstborn of Gwyn and the warriors of Sunlight Covenant and their exploits. So that's a fairly simple one as well. Now if we come down to silver hair eyes, considered antiquated in these times. So for those who have played the game, you could have guessed that this is a hint towards Ulasil and the story of Ulasil. And the reason that it is silver is the fact that that is the color that adorns that city. Ivory, silver, white is the color of Ulasil. And note that it says considered antiquated in these times, and the dress of the inhabitant of Oolacile that we meet, who is called Dusk. She wears an antiquated dress. So these are just some little hints towards the idea of Oolacile existing in the game. Just remember that when this game was released, Oolacile was actually extra DLC content. So if you only had the base game back then, this here is a hint towards what happened in the Darkroot Basin. Okay. Now moving up to the next one. This one here is a little bit more complicated. The dark blue hair and eyes, common in Kurim. So what is the dark blue hinting towards? It is hinting towards the Blades of the Dark Moon. Now, for those who have played the game, will know that you join the Covenant of the Blades of the Dark Moon in Anor Londo, but the items you originally used to interact with this covenant in the game, you get in the Undead Parish from a character called Oswald of Kurim. So what this is hinting towards is the fact that Kurim has taken over the administration of the realms of what is called at that point, or could be called at that point, the Old Gods. Velka, goddess of sin, and the Dark Moon. They're no longer active gods, and someone has taken on their mantle, and this role is being administrated out of Kurim. This is why, for those who have played the game, if you look at the bite rings that you can acquire, the wording there is that the Earl of Kurim has commissioned the work. So it's a hint towards the fact that he doesn't actually own the work that he does. He's kind of acquired other people's work and brought them in to Kurim. So then we move on to grey hair and eyes, common in northern Katarina. This is a complicated one. This one has a few moving parts, and hopefully we'll be getting to that at the end of the tour. That's how deep that one goes, so stick around for that. Okay, now this is the final one. So for all the new ones, this is the one where there's information for you. Dark purple hair and eyes, a rare colour of a near-extinct race. So, what is this near-extinct race? This race is called, I call them the Scaleless Dragons. The Scaleless Dragons were fathered by Sif the Scaleless, who we'll be meeting soon in the opening cutscene, just after the character creation. He has a daughter called Priscilla, and Priscilla is the daughter of the Witch of Isleth, who we'll also be meeting in the opening cutscene, and Sif the Scaleless. Priscilla then proceeds to have two more children, Velka, the goddess of sin, who she has with Nito, though whether Velka is Nito's child, we'll be discussing that during the tour. And there is also Gwyndolin, the Dark Sun. So the character that I just want to focus on right now as we start the game is Velka, the goddess of sin. And the reason that I want to focus on her is she is one of the major characters of Dark Souls. Velka, Priscilla, and the character that I'll be introducing by using the Master Key are responsible for pretty much every major event in the Dark Souls 1 storyline. And so just to start with, I just want to highlight Velka and just having in mind who Velka is, so that you can be looking out for her as she appears all throughout the game, but never explicitly. It's told often through metaphor. So Velka is the goddess of sin. She is raised by Priscilla and Nito, the Grave Lord, and she is very unattractive. She has a rather haggard appearance, and the fact that she has this appearance causes her to be spurned by the other gods of Lordran, and this spurning causes her to do some fairly crazy things, which cause a lot of problems for the inhabitants of Lordran. So just keep an eye out for her. And the other thing to note about Velka is she is the narrator of Dark Souls 1. She is the one telling the story. At the moment, in a moment, we will be watching a cutscene, and you'll hear a old female voice talking over it. That is Velka talking. And she also writes all of the item descriptions. For those that are new, I'll be getting to the item descriptions early on and explaining how those work, so don't worry about that too much yet. But just know that Velka is is telling the story of Dark Souls 1. She's the narrator, and she has an agenda, she has emotions, she has a point of view of characters, and the item descriptions and the way that she tells the story of Lordran reflects her point of view of the people of Lordran. So just keep an eye out for that, as it is important to help decipher the storyline of Dark Souls 1, and also explain some of the strange way that the story is told, because Velka likes to emphasize certain things and likes to diminish other people, as she is a character like all the others in the story. So great. So having chosen our undead, I would like to call the episode here. I would like to keep all of these in small bite-sized pieces, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, depending on how this progresses. So yes, when we return, we'll be watching the opening cutscene and be going through the Undead Asylum. Hope to see you then. Bye.